Numbers. Chapter 20. Then the children of Israel, the whole assembly, came to the wilderness of Zin in the first month, and the people stayed at Kadesh, and Miriam died there and was buried there. And there was no water for the assembly, and they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron. And the people contended with Moses and spoke, saying, If only we had expired when our brothers expired before Jehovah. Why then have you brought the congregation of Jehovah into this wilderness for us and our livestock to die there? Why then did you bring us up out of Egypt, to bring us to this wretched place? It is not a place of grain or figs or vines or pomegranates, and there is not even water to drink. And Moses and Aaron went from before the congregation to the entrance of the tent of meeting and fell upon their faces, and the glory of Jehovah appeared to them. Then Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, Take the rod, and gather the assembly, you and Aaron your brother, and speak to the rock before their eyes, so that it yields its water. Thus you shall bring forth water for them out of the rock and give the assembly and their livestock a drink. And Moses took the rod from before Jehovah, as he had commanded him. And Moses and Aaron gathered the congregation together before the rock, and he said to them, Listen now, you rebels, shall we bring forth water for you out of this rock? Then Moses lifted up his hand and struck the rock with his rod twice, and abundant water came forth, and the assembly and their livestock drank. And Jehovah said to Moses and Aaron, Because you did not believe in me, to sanctify me in the sight of the children of Israel, therefore you shall not bring this congregation into the land which I have given them. These are the waters of Meribah, where the children of Israel contended with Jehovah, and he was sanctified among them. Now Moses sent messengers from Kadesh to the king of Edom, Thus says your brother Israel, You know all the hardship that has befallen us. How our fathers went down to Egypt, and we dwelt in Egypt a long time, and the Egyptians ill-treated us and our fathers. And when we cried to Jehovah, he heard our voice and sent an angel and brought us forth out of Egypt, and now we are in Kadesh, a city on the edge of your border. Please let us pass through your land. We will not pass through field or through vineyard, nor will we drink water from any well, we will go along the king's highway, not turning aside to the right or to the left, until we pass through your territory. But Edom said to him, You shall not pass through my territory, or else I will come out against you with the sword. Then the children of Israel said to him, We will go up by the highway, and if I and my livestock drink some of your water, then I will pay its price. Allow me only this one thing, to pass through on foot. However he said, You shall not pass through. And Edom came out against him with a large number of people and with a mighty hand. So Edom refused to give Israel passage through his territory, and Israel turned away from him. Now when they journeyed from Kadesh, the children of Israel, the whole assembly, came to Mount Hor. Then Jehovah spoke to Moses and to Aaron at Mount Hor, on the border of the land of Edom, saying, Aaron shall be gathered to his people, for he shall not enter into the land which I have given to the children of Israel, because you rebelled against my word at the waters of Meribah. Take Aaron and Eleazar his son, and bring them up Mount Hor. And strip Aaron of his garments and put them upon Eleazar his son, so Aaron will be gathered to his people, and will die there. So Moses did just as Jehovah had commanded, and they went up Mount Hor in the sight of the whole assembly. And when Moses had stripped Aaron of his garments and put them on Eleazar his son, Aaron died there on the top of the mountain. Then Moses and Eleazar came down from the mountain. And when the whole assembly saw that Aaron had expired, all the house of Israel wept for Aaron 30 days. Numbers. Chapter 21. And when the Canaanite, the king of Arad, who dwelt in the Negev, heard that Israel was coming by the way of Atharim, he fought against Israel and took some of them captive. And Israel made a vow to Jehovah and said, If you will indeed deliver this people into my hand, then I will utterly destroy their cities. And Jehovah listened to the voice of Israel and delivered up the Canaanites, and they utterly destroyed them and their cities. Thus the name of the place was called Hormah. Then they journeyed from Mount Hor by the way to the Red Sea, to go around the land of Edom, and the people became impatient on the way. And the people spoke against God and against Moses, "Why have you brought us up out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? For there is no food and there is no water, and our soul loathes this light bread." Then Jehovah sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, so that many people of Israel died. And the people came to Moses and said, "We have sinned, because we have spoken against Jehovah and against you. Pray to Jehovah, that he may take away the serpents from us." So Moses prayed for the people. Then Jehovah said to Moses, "Make a fiery serpent, and set it on a pole, and everyone who is bitten, when he sees it, shall live." And Moses made a bronze serpent and set it on the pole, and if a serpent had bitten any man, when he looked at the bronze serpent, he lived. And the children of Israel journeyed and encamped at Oboth. And they journeyed from Oboth and encamped at Iabrim in the wilderness which faces Moab toward the sunrise. From there they journeyed and encamped in the valley of Zered. From there they journeyed and encamped on the other side of the Arnon, which is in the wilderness that comes out of the border of the Amorites, for the Arnon is the border of Moab, between Moab and the Amorites. Therefore it is said in the book of the wars of Jehovah, Waheb and Suphah, and the valleys of the Arnon. And the slope of the valleys that inclines toward the seat of Ar and leans toward the border of Moab. And from there they journeyed to Beer, that is the well where Jehovah said to Moses, "Gather the people together, and I will give them water." Then Israel sang this song, "Spring up, O well. Sing to it. The well, which the leaders sank, which the nobles of the people dug, with the scepter, with their staffs." And from the wilderness they journeyed to Matanah. And from Matanah to Nahaliel, and from Nahaliel to Bamoth. And from Bamoth to the valley that is in the land of Moab, to the top of Pisgah, which looks down upon the desert. And Israel sent messengers to Sihon the king of the Amorites, saying, "Let me pass through your land. We will not turn aside into field or into vineyard, we will not drink water from any well. We will go by the king's highway, until we have passed through your territory." But Sihon would not allow Israel to pass through his territory. And Sihon gathered all his people together and went out against Israel into the wilderness, and he came to Jahaz and fought against Israel. And Israel struck him with the edge of the sword and took possession of his land from the Arnon to the Jabbok, as far as the children of Ammon, for the border of the children of Ammon was strong. And Israel took all these cities, and Israel settled in all the cities of the Amorites, in Heshbon and in all her villages. For Heshbon was the city of Sihon the king of the Amorites, who had fought against the former king of Moab and taken all his land out of his hand, as far as the Arnon. Therefore those who speak in Proverbs say, "Come to Heshbon, let it be built, and let the city of Sihon be established. For fire has gone forth from Heshbon, a flame from the city of Sihon, it has consumed Ar of Moab, and swallowed up the high places of the Arnon. Woe to you, O Moab! You have perished, O people of Chemosh. He has given his sons as fugitives, and his daughters have gone into captivity, to an Amorite king, Sihon. We have shot at them, Heshbon is ruined as far as Dibon, and we have laid waste as far as Nophah, fire spreads as far as Medeba." Thus Israel settled in the land of the Amorites. And Moses sent some to spy out Jazer. And they captured its villages and dispossessed the Amorites who were there. And they turned and went up on the way that leads to Bashan, and Og the king of Bashan went out against them, he and all his people, for battle at Edrei. And Jehovah said to Moses, Do not fear him, for I have given him and all his people and his land into your hand, and you shall do to him as you did to Sihon the king of the Amorites, who was dwelling at Heshbon. So they struck him and his sons and all his people until there was no remnant left to him, and they possessed his land.